Welcome to today's deep dive. Usually when we find ourselves in a really tight spot, there is this deeply ingrained human instinct to just start negotiating.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost automatic, right?
Yeah, exactly. You make a mistake or you're suddenly facing this massive crisis, and without even thinking about it, you are looking up at the ceiling trying to strike a cosmic bargain.
Right. The classic, if I can just get out of this.
Yes. You think to yourself, like, if I can just get out of this one situation, I promise I will be a completely different person. I'll volunteer more, I'll be patient, I'll never do that bad thing ever again.
hmm
We fundamentally expect the universe to operate like some kind of leniency program.
We really do. We approach reality like it's a negotiation table. There's this underlying assumption that there's a cosmic scale somewhere.
Right.
And if we can just throw a sudden burst of good intentions on one side, it will somehow, outweigh the incredibly bad choice we just made on the other.
Because it's comforting?
Exactly. It's a deeply comforting way to view the world because it gives us a sense of control after the fact. Like we can still fix it.
Well, today we are diving into a worldview that completely dismantles that scale. We're unpacking a pretty mind-bending philosophical essay from May 2015. It's by an author named Shufeng, translated by Trans and edited by Kayer.
And the title alone really sets the stage.
It really does. It gives you a pretty clear map of where we're heading. The title is, "The Will of the Greatest Creator is Reflected in the Laws and Rules of Nature."
It's a fascinating text to unpack. This source presents a universe that is, well, entirely non-emotional.
Yeah.
It outlines a reality that is meticulously rigorous, completely devoid of shortcuts, and it merges the concept of divine will with the cold, hard logic of physics.
So let's get into how the author actually defines the power running all of this.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge shift from how we normally think.
It is. The essay starts by fundamentally redefining the vocabulary we use when we talk about the divine or the greatest creator. Generally, the human mind pictures a creator with a personality.
Like a person in the sky.
Right. We imagine an entity who gets angry, who feels pity, or who might even play favorites if you manage to, get on their good side.
Which goes back to the bargaining thing.
Exactly. But Suifeng tosses that anthropomorphic view entirely out the window. The text defines the Tao as the essence of all the rules and laws governing the universe.
Okay, so this is the rules themselves.
Yes. And it goes a step further and says this Tao represents the actual consciousness of the greatest creator.
So the will of the creator is not some mysterious emotional whim.
Yeah.
It is literally exactly the same thing as natural law.
Spot on. That's the core argument.
It says that when our thoughts, words, and actions align with these natural laws, we receive rewards. And when they conflict, we are punished.
Right. It's an automatic response.
It sounds like the author is saying the divine isn't a judge sitting in a courtroom weighing your character. It's more like gravity.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. You don't anger gravity. Gravity doesn't have a personal vendetta against you.
No, it just is.
Exactly. But if you step off a cliff, you are going to fall.
Mhm.
The consequence is just baked into the action itself.
Yeah, that analogy works perfectly with the text. Stripping away the idea of a parental figure in the sky completely changes the psychological dynamic of how you interact with the world.
How so?
Well, you no longer have a figure who can be swayed by your apologies or, manipulated by your tears. You are dealing with an impartial system of cause and effect.
No. Okay.
It replaces emotional judgment with mathematical precision. You align, you benefit, you conflict, you suffer.
So the mechanism of the universe in this essay is like a closed loop.
Yes, the action and the consequence are essentially the exact same event, just unfolding over time.
Which brings us right back to our opening thought. Because if the universe operates exactly like gravity, then stepping off a cliff and desperately praying on the way down that you won't hit the ground.
It's totally useless.
Completely irrational. And the essay is aggressively clear about the fallacy of this kind of cosmic bargain. It states that the ultimate Tao cannot be reached by active pursuit. There is no way to get rewards simply by wishing for them or asking for them.
The author actually lists out everything we usually rely on to try and hack the system.
Oh, yeah. The list is pretty uncompromising.
It really is. The text says your identity doesn't matter, your piety doesn't matter,
Right.
even the depth of your emotional love for the creator doesn't matter. None of those things will intercept the consequence of breaking a natural law.
Right, because gravity doesn't care if you love it.
Exactly. To drive the point home, the text uses a very visceral example. It says, regardless of how many joss sticks you burn, or how many times you kowtow in a temple, If you drink poison, you will surely die.
That is simply how things work. But, I mean, I have to push back on this logic slightly on behalf of anyone listening.
Sure, go ahead.
This is a radically practical worldview that entirely removes the comforting idea of grace or divine intervention. It's basically saying, don't try to bribe the universe.
Yeah, pretty much.
But if rituals, prayers, and bowing in temples do absolutely nothing to alter the mechanics of the universe, why is human history entirely built on them? Does the author address why we even have this impulse to light a candle if it's totally useless?
Well, the author isn't necessarily condemning the act of the ritual itself.
Oh, okay.
Lighting a candle might bring you psychological peace, right?
Yeah.
Or it might help you focus your mind, which has its own internal value.
So the ritual isn't bad.
No, not inherently. The issue the text targets is the expectation attached to the ritual.
I see.
The delusion is thinking that religious devotion acts as an insurance policy against bad choices. The instinct to bargain comes from a profound misunderstanding of how reality is constructed.
So we're just confused about the rules.
Exactly. We project our own human social dynamics, where favors can be traded and anger can be appeased onto the laws of physics.
But poison doesn't have a social dynamic.
Right. Poison is simply a chemical structure. Natural law dictates how that chemical interacts with the biology of the human body. Because the creator's will is that natural law. Expecting the creator to pause chemistry because you bowed in a temple is, well, it's like expecting a math equation to change its answer because you asked nicely.
Man, that is a stark way to look at it.
It really challenges you to rethink traditional rituals.
It really does. So, okay, we can't negotiate our way out of a consequence. The click is still there. The poison still works.
Yep.
If bargaining is entirely off the table, what happens to the good things we have already done?
What do you mean?
Like, if I can't pray my way out of a mistake, can I at least outwork it? Is there a cosmic bank account where I can deposit enough good deeds to cover a bad one?
Ah, okay. This is where the essay introduces what is probably its most provocative and challenging concept.
It's a ledger.
The unforgiving ledger of merits and mistakes. The author writes incredibly plainly that merits and mistakes absolutely do not offset each other.
Which is wild to think about.
Right. A merit is a merit and a mistake is a mistake. They occupy completely separate columns in the cosmic accounting book, and they never, ever cancel each other out.
Merits and mistakes do not offset. I mean, that is a heavy concept to carry around.
It forces absolute accountability.
It does. The text says that no matter what great merit someone has accumulated, if they make a mistake, even a slight one, they will be punished for it. And the specific metric the source provides is jarring.
The 10,000 to 1 rule.
Yes, even if a person performs 10,000 good deeds, they will still be punished for doing one bad thing. The creator ignores nothing.
Nothing at all. The sheer volume of your positive actions does not blind the system to the negative ones. The author explicitly lists who is subject to this ledger.
And it's everybody, right?
Everybody. Popes, hierarchs, masters, emperors, devout disciples, and lay people.
No exceptions.
No exceptions. This is why everyone suffers illness and mishaps.
10,000 to 1. It completely rejects that whole scale of justice metaphor we talked about earlier.
It tears it down completely.
It's much more like a driving record.
Oh, yeah. Explain that.
Well, think about it. You could donate millions of dollars to charity. You could volunteer at a soup kitchen every single weekend for a decade. But if you speed through a school zone, the traffic camera still flashes.
Right.
You still get the ticket. The state doesn't care about the soup kitchen when it comes to traffic laws. You have to pay the fine. The charity work doesn't magically dissolve the speeding ticket.
That is exactly how this philosophy works. And the mechanism behind this is rooted in the concept of absolute justice.
How so?
Well, think about the alternative. If merits could erase mistakes, we would have a universe that could essentially be bought.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it that way.
Right. The wealthy, the powerful, or just the extremely energetic could theoretically buy their way out of terrible behavior by performing massive, highly visible good deeds.
They could just offset their corruption.
Exactly. Joeffing's framework forces absolute, unavoidable accountability onto every single individual. The text states that the sin we sow can only be dispelled by reaping a painful consequence.
So reaping a painful consequence is the only way to dispel it. You literally have to process the mistake through your own lived experience.
Yes, you have to burn it off yourself.
The text goes as far as to say that even a messenger of the greatest creator gets no special grace to escape punishment.
Yep, even the messenger.
The very person delivering the message gets no VIP treatment. The author warns the reader directly, like, do not assume that taking the creator's way saves you from the consequences of past mistakes.
It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card.
But sitting with this, I have to ask, doesn't this concept risk overwhelming the listener?
It definitely can.
Because knowing that no amount of good behavior can ever erase a past mistake, you're basically just walking around waiting for the other shoe to drop. It feels incredibly punitive.
It feels punitive if we are still looking at it through the lens of human emotion.
Okay, so how should we look at it?
Well, within the cold logic of the essay, it isn't punishment. It is just a balancing of an equation.
Like the math problem again.
Exactly. The universe is restoring equilibrium. Every action creates a ripple, and that ripple just has to run its course. When we experience the consequence of a past mistake, we are actually clearing the ledger.
Okay, so it's a clearing process.
Right. We are burning off the debt. Understanding this entirely shifts how you view the hardships in your life.
Which brings us to the ultimate question here. If the ledger is this unforgiving and the rules are this tight, how does anyone actually succeed in this system?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. What is the goal if perfection seems practically impossible?
The text defines the goal as ascending to a higher space of life.
Life with a capital L.
Exactly. But it immediately warns that this ascent is incredibly difficult, precisely because the system is rigorous, meticulous, precise, and non-emotional.
The author lays out a specific hypothetical standard that illustrates just how exact this is.
The point system.
Yes. He says, if the standard for a mortal to ascend to immortality is 100 points, then 99 points is never enough.
You cannot round up.
No partial credit.
Nope. Close enough simply does not exist in this framework. And to explain the mechanics of this, the source references Monk Tang's 81 Hardships.
Oh, from Journey to the West.
Yes, the classic Chinese novel. So, the monk Tang Senzang travels to India to obtain sacred Buddhist scriptures.
Right.
The universe requires him to endure exactly 81 specific tribulations, demonic encounters, and trials to achieve his goal.
So if Monk Tang had only gone through 80 hardships...
He would have failed his quest.
Wow. So not a single one could be skipped for him to succeed. Every single step, every single monster, every single setback was totally mandatory.
Exactly. And the essay applies this directly to our everyday lives. It states that our sorrows, setbacks, and failures are simply hardships that we must traverse.
It's karma.
Yes, the author calls it karma. These difficult moments are not random acts of cruelty by a chaotic universe.
Right.
Nor are they a spiteful God punishing you. They are literally the missing points you need to reach that 100. They are the mandatory coursework for the ascension of your life.
That reframing changes everything about how you experience, like, a random Tuesday afternoon when everything just goes wrong.
It really is.
You get a flat tire, you lose a job, you experience a heartbreak. These aren't deviations from the path. They are the path.
Exactly. They're the stepping stones.
And the author advises us to stop focusing on acquiring what he calls absolutely beautiful things.
Right, the external stuff.
Yeah. We spend so much energy trying to accumulate wealth, status, or, beautiful objects just to insulate ourselves from hardship.
Which is pointless, according to this text. The text argues that absolutely beautiful things are boundless and endless, but they can only truly be enjoyed by an absolute life.
Meaning your internal state.
Right. If your internal state, your life is chaotic, unrefined, and constantly avoiding necessary hardships, no amount of beautiful external things will fix it. The focus has to shift from acquiring to self-refinery.
Self-refinery and self-improvement. He wants the reader to look inward and ask, is mine an absolutely beautiful life?
And the promise there is that once the life is beautiful, the absolutely beautiful things naturally gravitate to it.
You don't chase them.
No, they're just the byproduct of being perfectly aligned with the natural law.
But achieving that alignment, it requires an absolutely wild emotional pivot.
It definitely asks a lot of the reader. The essay ends with a very specific, challenging call to action regarding how we handle all these miseries we've been talking about.
Yes, this part stood out to me. He urges the reader to bear all the miseries, frustrations, and suffering with delight.
With the delight.
With delight, and to march firmly toward the perfection and beautification of life. But I have to point out the paradox here.
Sure, what is it?
We have spent this entire discussion establishing a universe that is cold, strict, non-emotional, and incredibly exacting. Yet the author's tone ends on this note of triumphant, joyful climbing.
It is a massive shift in tone.
How does a person practically bear a flat tire or a massive failure with delight without just being, completely delusional?
It sounds paradoxical on the surface, but it's actually the logical conclusion of everything the essay has built up to this point.
Okay, unpack that for us.
True peace in this philosophy comes from a radical acceptance of reality. If you deeply understand that merits don't erase mistakes, and that every hardship you face is just an equation balancing itself, like one of those 81 hardships you simply cannot skip, then the resistance just falls away.
Because fighting it is useless.
Exactly. You stop viewing setbacks as unfair. You stop fighting the natural law.
You stop looking at the ceiling, try and bargain your way out of it.
Exactly. The delight doesn't come from the pain of the hardship itself. The author isn't saying you should enjoy suffering.
Okay, that makes more sense.
The delight comes from the clarity of knowing exactly how the universe works. You are actively participating in your own self-refinery. When that hardship hits, you recognize it as the very thing dispensing a past mistake.
It's clearing your ledger.
Yes, it's giving you the exact point you need to get closer to 100. You bear it with delight because you know the system is perfectly just.
You are burning off the debt and leveling up step by step to the highest realm of life.
That's the goal.
We have covered incredible ground today. Let's do a quick recap of the philosophical journey we've just taken.
Sounds good.
We started by exploring Xuefeng's vision of a universe where the divine is not a personality, but an impartial law of physics. We unpacked why you cannot strike a cosmic bargain, because natural law doesn't pause for piety. Drinking poison will kill you no matter how many times you bow.
And we then examined the unforgiving ledger. We looked at the reality that merits and mistakes absolutely do not offset.
Zero offset.
Zero. 10,000 good deeds cannot magically erase a single bad one, which guarantees a system of absolute accountability and incorruptible justice for everyone, regardless of their status.
And finally, we broke down the 100-point standard. The hard truth that 99 points is a failing grade, and that our sorrows and setbacks are the mandatory hardships we must traverse to perfect our life. By accepting this rigorous system, we can actually learn to bear our frustrations with a strange, joyful delight.
As you step back into the reality of your day, we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
What's that?
Well, if our universe truly operates on this non-offsetting ledger, where every single action requires an equal reaction and absolutely no good deed can magically erase a bad one, how would that change the way you make your very next decision today?
Oh, wow.
Right. If you knew you couldn't just apologize or make up for it later with a grand gesture, but had to fully experience the unavoidable consequence of your choice, what would you do differently in the next hour?
It pulls you right back to that opening thought. The next time you find yourself in a tight spot, looking up at the ceiling, getting ready to offer the universe a bargain, you might just catch yourself and realize the universe isn't taking offers. It is just taking notes. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Xuefeng's philosophy. Keep asking those big questions, keep exploring new perspectives, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.